Hello, today is January 13th, and we are going to be reading today our gospel for this coming Sunday, the second Sunday after Epiphany. Um, our gospel this week comes from John chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour is not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. So, what do we make of this gospel? Uh, it is probably an unusual one, I would think. Uh, it's similar. I would put it in a similar class of story as the story of the boy Jesus at the temple. They are stories that seem unconnected or out of joint in some way to the other miracle stories, to the other narratives. There's little here that maybe points or would obviously point to what Jesus is all about. Because throughout the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, we have Jesus feeding thousands at a time. We have Jesus healing the blind and the deaf and the mute. We have Jesus exorcising demons and interacting with people outside of his culture. We have Jesus breaking boundaries and bringing service and doing acts of love for people. And then we have this story, which appears only here in the Gospel of John. A commentary that I was reading on this said this seems frivolous, uh, because it does, right? In comparison to feeding thousands of people at a time, or healing someone who is sick, or raising the dead, making water into wine seems like a party trick, literally a party trick. And so we have this story that this is the first miraculous, unusual event of Jesus's life in John's gospel. As Jesus himself says when Mary pushes him, "My hour is not yet come." So in some ways, in the narrative of John, this is right before Jesus really begins his public ministry. In a lot of ways, the narrative of John is very, very different than the narratives of the other 3 gospels. John is structured in a very particular way to lead you to a particular conclusion. And so this is a gospel that starts with not reading in the temple. It does not start with him being baptized. It starts at a wedding, creating wine so that people can get more officially drunk, or drunk on better wine than they were drinking before. What is going on here? I say this just to underline the unusualness, the strangeness of this miracle in the whole host of other miracles that get described in the Gospels. In some ways, John, especially because John is so picky about which of the signs, as he calls them, gets included, that you have to conclude that the author is choosing to describe certain signs for particular thought out reasons. The Gospels, we have to remember, often allied over a lot of details. The Gospels are not historical documents in the way that maybe you'd read an autobiography of Abraham Lincoln. If you read an autobiography of Abraham Lincoln, they're going to start at his birth, give you almost all the details of his life, as many as we can know, and through to his death. That's an autobiography. The Gospels are something different. They're theological. They are at once texts that describe who Jesus is in blatantly theological terms, and put Jesus into context using historical milestones. He is born in Nazareth, and this year, under the reign of this king, under the authority of this Roman emperor. We have context, and so we have a historical touchstone that gets placed in the Gospels, but what they choose to tell us about the life of Jesus is not an exhaustive list, but rather it's a theological list. It's a list of stories and miracles that they have chosen from the spoken tradition of the early church to illustrate something about Jesus, to draw a particular picture about Jesus. This is what it means when we say that the Gospels are not are written from a point of view. They are written from a human encounter with God. So when we say that they are true, we are putting truth in the hands of humans relaying information about God. And so when we see differences between the Gospels, we are seeing differences in what the authors are trying to tell us about a central figure. They point to a generally similar figure, but in the differences, you see the differences in the author. And maybe we also see different sides and shades of the same person. Now, that's a long interlude, or a long prologue, I guess, and I'm running out of time. But I think it stands to reason. It asks the question, why does John, with his particular point of view, put the wedding at Cana first? Why does he tell us about it anyway, if it is so frivolous, if it is a party trick? Well, I think one of the things that one of the inroads to understand this sign, as John says, is the very word sign. That something is revealed by the act. Not the act. The act itself is not the core of the message, but something is revealed by the act. And what is revealed is that there is the gratuitousness of this sign. Not only is there more wine so the party can go on, but it is gallons and gallons, 120, 150 gallons of wine, all of the very best vintage. There's something extreme about the abundance that is here. That the first of Jesus's signs is that is telling us something about who Jesus is. That Jesus gives of himself not just sufficiently. We don't just get what we need from Jesus, but we get more, and such an extreme abundance of what we need. And importantly, the sign here it's not talking about our personal prosperity. It's not talking about our wealth or anything else. It is talking about the gratuitousness of the gift that we have in Jesus. That this physical sign is a sign and a symbol of what is coming. There's a reason this food-based sign is first, and John makes such a large deal about the Passover meal, about the Eucharist as it becomes in the church's life. That this is in some ways, a sign of what is to come, of the abundant grace that is already being enacted here even before Jesus's hour is come. Those themes of extreme abundance of grace, um, of the joy that is had at the wedding party, um, that is meant to be embodied in the Christian community. That is those are themes that run through John, that point toward what the author is trying to tell us about who Jesus is and who the God is that we are talking about. So that's quite a lot. I'm going to pause there. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're staying safe out in the cold. I hope you're staying healthy as cases are surging in our area of COVID. So stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you later. Bye bye.